This is Alabama Politics with Steve Flowers, an in-depth interview with Alabama's top political newsmakers. Now, from the studios of Troy University, here is Steve Flowers.
I'm Steve Flowers, and welcome to Alabama Politics. Folks, we have as our guest tonight a popular state senator from over in Lee County, Senator Tom Whatley. Tom, good to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Tom, of course, represents Auburn and Opelika in the state Senate. He's a War Eagle man. He's a dyed-in-the-wool Lee County guy, born and raised there. His daddy was in the legislature a long time. And Tom's finishing up his second term in the state Senate. Folks, state senators got a very powerful position. They're only one of 35, and he's one of only 25 Republicans. It's a 25 to 10, I think, Republican majority.
26 now.
26 to 9. That's something. And I don't see that changing next time. Do you?
I think right now we'll maintain our margin or maybe go up some.
You know, Lee County is a very Republican county, but you know, in that latest state U.S. Senate race, I was surprised to see Doug Jones carry Lee County. That was one county I was really surprised at because Lee's become so Republican. Well, there was a large African-American turnout, and people don't realize there's a large African-American population in Opelika especially. What do you attribute? The students got out and voted, a more progressive, liberal or something?
Well, you know, Steve, I think it goes back to the old way get out the vote used to be done, and they did that, and it worked. And they had a good strategy for getting out the vote, and they did. They had a good candidate, obviously, and they were able to maximize their potential there. But if you look at the total votes cast in the election, and not just Lee County, but you know how trends are across the state, they're pretty much the same. If you look at the total votes cast for Donald Trump in Alabama in 2016, it was 1.3 million. If you add Roy Moore and Doug Jones together, they didn't get to 1.3 million. So you had a lot of guys that were Trump people, a lot of Republicans just stayed home.
Yeah, they did. That was key. But then the college towns like Tuscaloosa and Auburn, they showed a little higher propensity, I think.
They did.
Yeah. Let me ask you, you just went straight to the Senate. You didn't run for the House first, did you?
No, sir, just ran straight for the Senate.
Now, you went to Auburn.
I went to Auburn, yes, sir.
Where did you go? You from Opelika or Auburn?
Well, I'm from a little town called Beauregard, a little community.
Is that right between Auburn and Opelika?
That's right. It's Beauregard. My house in Beauregard was on our dairy farm. Dad was a dairy farmer, and it was around 6 miles from the old KA house in Auburn, if you know where that is.
Yeah, right on the corner.
Right on the corner of campus, and about 6-7 miles from Opelika. So it was about in a triangle right there in the middle, and it was a big day when you got to go to Auburn or Opelika.
Beauregard has on. You went to high school at Beauregard?
I went to high school at Beauregard, and Mom and Dad still live on the farm, but Auburn and Opelika have both moved towards them. From my house in Auburn, where I live, and I live 1 mile from the stadium, Mom and Dad can get to the Publix grocery store in Auburn quicker than I can get to the Publix grocery store in Auburn.
Because of the traffic?
Just it's closer to their house.
Oh, it's grown that much.
It's just grown that much.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
1 minute. Now, I've seen that ad you have, and it's a good ad. Y'all walk around a farm field, you and your daddy.
Right.
Now, how many years did he serve in the House?
He served 8 years.
8 years.
8 years.
Now, you know, I told you I served with Mr. Pete Turnham.
You did? Yes, sir.
He was with Mr. Pete. How many representatives did Lee have at that time?
At that time, Lee County had, let's go from 78 to 82.
Dutch Higginbotham was in that group.
Dutch Higginbotham was in the Senate. You had Bo Torbett in the Senate for a minute, and then he went to be Chief Justice.
Yeah.
And I think Dutch may have taken his spot.
I think that's what happened.
And then you had Ted Little serving in the Senate.
He stayed there a long time.
He was there from 74 till I won in 2010 with a 4-year break. So what's that? 26, 30, 32 years.
Yeah.
And then
so he left that seat and you ran for it. Did you beat him?
I beat him.
You beat Ted
yeah,
Little.
it was in the Republican Revolution. And
He was still running as a Democrat. He never ran as a Republican.
Right, still runs as a Democrat, and he had Doug Jones sign his yard this year. Good guy.
He's a real Democrat then.
I mean, he may be. He
yeah.
probably already knew Doug Jones too.
Yeah.
And he's a good guy.
Yeah, I've always
Good
liked
guy.
Ted. Yeah.
And he's probably the longest serving senator
From that area.
from that area ever, in my opinion. Because before '74 they had the Tallapoosa. I represent Tallapoosa and Russell County too, part of the district. But my understanding was, going back in old time politics, that Lee and Tallapoosa had a gentleman's agreement where the senator would come from Lee one time and Tallapoosa the next.
A lot of counties did.
A lot of counties had that, and that was how it worked.
Uh-huh.
So Ted may be the longest serving senator
Because they quit
ever,
doing it. Yeah.
ever for that area.
Now, has Tallapoosa always been in that same Senate district almost?
Been there for a long time.
Have you got all of Tallapoosa?
No, I don't have all of it. I almost have all of it.
But now somebody from Talladega comes
Clyde.
in? Clyde, he comes in and gets Tallapoosa. That's kind
Gets a little bit of Auburn.
Uh-huh.
Auburn and Opelika have grown so much that in 2010 I had all of Tallapoosa, but now I have most of Tallapoosa, but I lost some of it because of redistricting.
In the census, you'll probably have almost one county. Probably Lee and a little bit of Russell.
Well, it just depends on how we have to draw them.
Yeah, that's right. You know Senator Radden, who had Tallapoosa for a long time? Tom Radden?
I did know him, yes I did.
Uh-huh. Do you know his wife, I had this book out about, Daddy came to my book signing and had the book and everything, and she was one of the first people who wrote me a letter, one of my books.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Tom Radden's wife. And then I saw his daughter. They were big Democrats, Tom Radden was.
Good guy, though.
Yeah,
Good guy.
good guy, smart guy, good senator. He was a senator when I was a page, when I was a little boy.
Really?
Yeah. A story I was telling you when we were talking, we'll tell a lot of stories, because you grew up in this stuff, your daddy being in the legislature and everything. When I was a little boy, I used to page up here, and George Wallace was governor his first time, and then so I got to know him, had that remarkable memory, for names, and then later on, fast forward about 20 years, I get elected to the legislature, and my county, as Pike, has to go over and get part of Barber, and I'm his representative. So I've got Clio and Clayton in my district, so he thought that was the funniest thing. But talking about Mr. Pete and Wallace, Wallace had a bad hearing problem. Besides his disabilities from being shot, any of those old guys who served in World War II, they were around all those cannons and bombs, and almost every one of them fought in World War II, and it hurt their hearing.
What'd you say? I was commissioned field artillery, so I can't really hear that well.
Well,
I know what you're talking about.
If you talk to an old guy,
Pete Turnham, who's in my district, we talked about you coming here. You said he was 98 now. He was a field artillery officer in World War II in Normandy, if I do believe right.
He was with Patton.
In Patton?
He was with Patton, and I sat on the right side of Pete, and he couldn't hear out of his left ear, so he couldn't hear what I was saying half the time. And Wallace would have me down there to visit with him, but one day he had me and Pete both down there, and Wallace he'd stuffed parachutes on planes. Was his job.
So he was a rigger.
Yeah, that's what he was. That was his job in the on the Army or Air Force. So he'd been around his planes. That's what caused him to be early death. But both of them were deaf as a doornail, and I was down there. I was in my 30s, so I could hear pretty good. And I'm sitting there looking at them, and they're carrying on a conversation. And Pete likes to garden. He got a big garden there by his house, and he was trying to tell Wallace about the biggest tomato he had and all the stuff he had in his garden, and Wallace was agreeing with him. Yeah, and then Wallace was talking about some bill, and both of them were too vain to acknowledge they didn't know what they were talking about. They were talking about two different things. Tell me a good one of your best Wallace stories your daddy told you.
Well, the best one I've heard is, and I was 12 when Dad left office, but it was 1983. And the guy that Al Johnson replaced my dad in the House, ran against Dad, and that was
my first time.
82.
Yeah. I remember Johnson.
Well, he served 1 year only.
I remember he was a lawyer from Phoenix City.
A lawyer on Phoenix City, Crawford area, and he swore me in 2010 when I won. Good guy, good family, and his son David is on the bench now, holds his daddy's seat as a circuit judge. But anyway, this is what I was told was. That he brought, and if it didn't happen this way, the story is really good. So sometimes the story is better than the truth. So Wallace is in the governor's office. he's got Jimmy Clark in there.
Yeah.
And the district's redone where it's Russell and Barber County.
I remember that now.
And so he brings Al in, and he says, Al, this is Jimmy Clark. Good to meet you, Jimmy. Al, Jimmy is going to take your seat in the House. Well, Governor, I kind of like my seat in the House. Oh, yeah, but Jimmy's going to run for it, and he's going to win, you see. He's mayor of Eufaula, and I want him back in the House. He was a senator, and I want him in the House now. And he's going to be the Speaker. And Al's like, I don't know.
Got elected.
Yeah, I just got elected a year ago. I'm running in this election in '83. And he said, well, Governor, I'm going to run. No, you're not going to run. You're going to be a judge. Well, where? Well, in Russell County. Well, Governor, we don't have a opening. I'm going to make a district judgeship today. And you're going to be a district judge. We're going to point you to that, and you're going to be a district judge, and you're going to be happy. And then Al went on to be a district judge and a circuit judge, and ran for the Supreme Court, and had a long judicial career, and one of the brightest minds, and a guy that I call now for advice on legal issues.
I liked him. He was a nice guy, but I remember that situation happening now. That's why he left that house seat to go to a judgeship on was created for him.
Wallace wanted his buddy in the House, so he just said, well, let's just make a judgeship over there. That's back when you could do that.
Yeah, Jimmy Clark was an ironclad speaker. Now, 70% of your people are in Lee County, aren't they?
I think 68% of the district is Lee County.
So that means your paramount job is to make sure Auburn University don't get taken advantage of.
Auburn University is my #1 employer in the district.
So.
And they employ people in Auburn, Opelika, Phoenix City, Russell County, Tallapoosa. The employees spread out. So, the education budget is a top priority of mine. And then you've got, after that, East Alabama Medical Center be the #2 employer.
It's #2.
Right.
People don't realize that East Medical Center is so big. Those hospitals in Dothan, that's their biggest employer now.
I believe
that's #1 in Dothan, the southeast of Flowers Hospital in Dothan. But going back to your time in the legislature, did you think growing up you'd want to be in the legislature like your daddy?
I wanted to be like Daddy. I wanted to do whatever Daddy did.
Do you dairy farm too?
I do not. We quit dairy farming in 1991, and Dad
has a paper now.
Has a newspaper, and he went to farming houses. So he builds houses and he rents them out, and he has commercial real estate property, and that's what he does now.
Do you help him in y'all doing
I do. I do.
Are you an only child?
No, sir. I have a brother and a sister.
They live around Auburn?
No, my brother lives in Chicago, and my sister lives in D.C. area.
They live away from here then. Tom, you're on the way finance taxation, aren't you?
I'm on education, finance, taxation.
Yeah, that's
yes,
what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
That's a priority to be there.
That was a priority of mine to get on that committee when I got in the Senate.
And Ag, too.
In Ag, I'm the chairman of that.
You're chairman of Ag?
Yeah. And I'll tell you a story about that. When I got elected in 2010, I'm a freshman. Well, Rusty Glover had been in the House for 8 years and been in the Senate for 4 years. And if any of the people with
before you, he was 4 years.
Right, he was before me. He was in the Senate, I think, before me. Anyway, he was certainly before me. And he was going to be chairman of agriculture.
He wanted chairman of agriculture.
Well, he wanted it, but he was going to be chairman of agriculture. And just to show you what a nice guy Rusty is, and I hope the people at the Farmers Federation are listening when they go to endorse him for lieutenant governor. But Rusty came to me and said, "You're from a family farm." And I said, "Yes, sir. Why don't you be chairman of agriculture, and I'll take another." And I mean, you don't get a better guy than Rusty Glover and Greg Reed. I told Greg Reed the other day.
Both of them,
both those guys are, 1 and 2, and nicest guys you'll ever want to meet.
They too. Both of them been on my show here. I've had Rusty on. I mean, first day he's gonna run for lieutenant governor. Give him a little, free publicity, and
I'll always remember Rusty for doing that, though.
Well, who wouldn't?
Yeah.
And especially in politics. That's the thing about people don't realize this about those of us who served in politics. There's a loyalty and a bond that they think everybody runs for office and in the legislature does all this crooked stuff and everything. But you know what? You got to be, if you want to be a crook, you can't be in politics now. No. These ethics laws are such that, people in business are a lot more unethical than politicians. You can't be.
It's the finest group of people that I've ever been around in general.
Well, you've got some good guys. That'd be really fun to be in that state senate.
On both sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
Good guys.
Who is your favorite friend in the Senate?
Oh, it just depends. For
you make good friendships.
Yeah, you do. For mentorship, you can't get any better than the three guys that served with my dad. Gerald Dial, Jimmy Holly, and Jabba Wagner.
That's my three favorites.
And they serve with my dad, and so it's really cool to get to serve with them. And for mentorship, you can't get any better than those guys. And then, of course, guys my age, Cam Ward and Clay Schofield, is two of my best friends.
Those two, yeah, that's some good guys in that state senate. I think some of my best friends. You named three of my best friends, especially Holly and Jabbo.
And I like Holly. Well,
We served together.
Jabbo got me. Gerald. I'm in the National Guard, so I told you I was commissioned field artillery at Auburn, and so Gerald Dial said, you don't need a commissioned field artillery, you need a commissioned quartermaster. Field artillery is going away in the Guard. No, I want to be who? I want to fire a big cannon. I want to be a soldier. Hey, you ought to go Guard. We ought to go quartermaster. We can take care of you that way. And no, I didn't listen to him. He didn't know what he was talking about. He's only a general.
Were you already in the Senate?
No, that was back when I was 22 years old.
Uh-huh.
So I got commissioned, field artillery, go out to the Auburn unit. Guy swears me in. He's now the PER guy for the prison systems. And they shut down the next day. So I called Gerald. He goes, I'll find you a spot. So he got me a spot as a second lieutenant, as a quartermaster in his hometown unit in Lineville. And so
you had to go to Lineville to go.
Oh, yeah, but I loved it. And I've always, Gerald's always helped me out. He's always looked out for me.
Dial probably win that ag race, probably.
I hope he does. And
he'll do a good job over there.
And you got Jimmy Holly. He calls me Charlie.
He calls you that? Does he do it absentmindedly, or he just saying it?
I'm not sure if he knows my name's Tom. He just called me Charlie. That's Charlie Whatley. I think he thinks that's he may think that's my name.
I bet you Holly getting the way he just does that.
But Holly, I like it.
Holly was my seatmate Pete Turnham sat here and Jimmy Holly sat here and asked, Tom, I have never seen a better legislator in my life than Jimmy Holly. That guy he's my state senator.
Let me tell you a story about Jimmy Holly and Gerald
He knows
Dial.
every bill.
They
best friends now.
They are, and they're good. They are excellent legislators. You won't get a better legislator than those two, and I'm sad to see Gerald go. But so Slade Blackwell and I are in committee a few years ago, maybe it's 3 years ago, and I look over at Slade and said, let's table this amendment. I think it was Dial's amendment or something like that, and let's get rid of it. Let's beat them. We can beat them. So I said I moved the table. Slade second. Holly goes. I didn't say table. I said something. Slade gave it a second. I vote no on the amendment. Slade said second. I was gonna go for a vote, which was stupid. And Slade says second. Holly immediately says move the table. Dial second. Done. Call the vote. And that was it. And Slade and I were beat within 3 seconds. That's how good.
Yeah.
Jimmy Holly and Gerald Dial are. They're always paying attention. They are excellent senators.
They are. Holly I sat by him, and Holly he was so diligent that a lot of folks would go out partying or having dinner with lobbyists or something. I went home to Troy because I was a young man, had a young family, so I wasn't diligent as Holly was about reading every bill. And I'd get back the next day, and we had a long Rules Committee calendar one. I'll never forget this. And I'm looking at a bill about 5 or 10 bills down. I said, Holly, what does that bill do? He gave me every description. You could tell he had read the bill. He said, you might not be for it. It's a trial lawyer bill. He knew I was pro-business, and he was kind of would go with the trial lawyer sometimes. He said it was a controversial bill. He read every bill, Tom. Now, that's unusual. He was the most diligent legislator. I watched him get a whole new school system for Elba one day.
I watched that too.
I
wasn't in the Senate, but I was there watching it.
Uh-huh.
And it was, it was
I said, I ain't never seen anything like that in my life. And Dial has got he got him a nice school. He was on here yesterday. He was telling me about the nice school he got up there for his hometown. old Roger Bedford and I were pretty good friends. And old Bedford had me up there one time in Russell and showed me that high school. Have you ever seen the high school he built in Russell?
I have. Roger's just one of my best friends.
I mean, I said, Roger, Mountain Brook ain't got this kind of high school. Had tennis courts up there in Russellville. I said,
I got my
did
first.
all your kids play tennis up here?
I got my first paying job driving Roger Bedford in the '96 campaign
for the U.S. Senate.
Yep.
Worked
for him for about 6 weeks. Hated it. Told him I was going to quit, and I said, I don't want another check out of you. You're just the most horrible person in the world to work for. But I'm going to stay with you for a year because I gave you a commitment, but I don't want your money because I want to feel like I owe you anything. But
your daddy? I bet your daddy was friends with Ohio Healthy, wasn't
he? I guess Dad knew him, but I don't know what their relationship was. But Roger, he and I do cases together now. He is a great guy.
I love Bedford. I wish he'd had run back for that state senate. He'd win it if he ran. But he don't want to fool with it.
I think he's happy. He's making money. He's happy.
Another
guy that's really good in the Senate is Jim McClendon.
I like McClendon.
He is a crackerjack. He's a cool
I've had
guy.
him on the show.
Yeah.
From St. Clair County.
Yeah.
He was my favorite.
Yeah. I see why.
Yeah. That'd be a fun thing to be in that Senate with y'all. Just a bunch of good people.
It's a bunch of good people. And like you said about Holly telling you, hey, you may not be for this, that's the thing that people will come around and do, is they'll say, this bill does this, and you'll get your pen out to sign it, and they'll say, but I don't think you ought to sign this one. You need to stay off on this one. I appreciate your help with it. They'll tell you that about, and that's what you got to do with friends. That's what you got to do with colleagues.
Yeah.
And it builds trust.
It does.
And I think the Senate is a very trusting place right now.
It is. And I used to think that when I was in the House, one of 105, people who would tell lies about where they were on issues, they ruin themselves for effectiveness, because you can't lie to colleagues and say, I'm going to vote for you on this bill. It's just too small a group.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it comes back to haunt you. Your words got to be good up here. And your daddy probably told you that when you first ran.
That's something he taught from when I was a kid.
If you give somebody your word, you got to stick with it.
Right.
I had some old mentors that when I was growing up
And you got some good lobbyists, I'm sorry, that are that way too. I remember one of them texted me around Christmas time, says, do you still need this? Talking about some bill stuff coming up. And I said, yes, but if you need to go on this one, if you need to take your sport away, I understand. And he said, nope, commitment's a commitment. Even if it was going to possibly negatively affect them, he said, I gave a commitment.
Yeah, well, your words got to be good up here. You got to be good. Tom, so you beat old Ted Little the first time you ran. I didn't know it wasn't an open seat. But y'all get along pretty good, don't you?
Yeah, I'd like to get along with Ted. I don't have a relationship with him, but he's a good guy.
Yeah.
He is a good guy.
The party thing ain't gonna, I like old Schofield too.
Yeah, Schofield's
I
top
like
notch.
Livingston a lot.
Livingston is a hell of a guy.
That's a heck of a city.
Yeah, Livingston's a great fella. He is. He texted me the other day.
Now, most of y'all are coming back.
A lot of people are coming back. Some of them are quitting.
Now, Gerald's running for Commissioner of Agriculture. Who else is running for something?
Rusty's running for Lieutenant Governor.
That's right. Rusty be gone. But other than that, any of the Democrats, Beasley will run again?
I anticipate.
What about Smitherman? He gonna go again?
I anticipate he will.
Hank Sanders going again.
Yeah.
So everybody, but they said there's 9 turnovers. Where are they?
Well, okay, you got Gerald
and Glover's on too.
Glover, and then you've got Trip Pittman not running.
Right. Brubaker ain't running.
Dick ain't running.
That's right. That guy up in the northwest part of the state may have trouble.
Shoot, you got well, Williams ain't running.
That's right, Gadsden.
Phil's not running. Phil's a hell of a guy too.
Yeah.
And Senator Holtz Claus is going to run for Congress.
That's right. That's 6.
I know I'm missing something somewhere.
But there's 9 of them.
Oh, and Bill Hightower.
Yeah, that's right.
He is a hell of a constituent senator too. He cares about his constituents. He's been in my office on issues that he didn't know the most about, but he was batting for his constituent. Just
what does
great
he
fella.
do for a living? Does he have a business or something?
Not positive. He's very sophisticated, and very smart.
Yeah.
Very smart guy.
Yeah.
And his son's, I think, in the Air Force Academy.
Yeah, that's a good group up there. Whatley gonna run again?
Yes, sir.
I asked Holly, you gonna run again? He says, yes, sir. I have Holly on the show about once a year. Chambliss is a good man.
Oh yeah, Clyde. We share a county together.
Yeah, he's got, he does a lot of stuff. He's not, is he an accountant or engineer? One of the other. I think he's an engineer.
Engineer.
I always think he's an accountant, but he's an engineer.
He's very smart.
Tom, well, you got about 1 minute left, 2 minutes left. What is going to be the answer to the general fund, you reckon? And if y'all had to come, when you come back, y'all gonna have some problems in the general fund next quadrennium.
Maybe in the next quadrennium, yes, we will. You got to get Medicaid under control.
How do you do that?
It is something that you can expand all the time if you want to, and then you're going to have an issue with prisons. And I think one of those things is education, to make sure we have kids that can read and write when they hit 3rd grade, because that's how we predict our prison beds is 3rd grade reading level. So, and I think we've got to do less locking up of people that are committing nonviolent crimes.
Well, our time's up. Tom, I tell you what, I appreciate you taking time to be on my show. And I tell you, Daddy, I appreciate him running my column in the paper, too.
Well, I know folks enjoy reading it.
Well, I appreciate it.
And I've enjoyed talking to you.
I have you, too. Folks, our guest tonight has been State Senator Tom Whatley from over in Auburn, Opelika area, the Beauregard area, and Lee County. And he represents all of Lee County, a good portion of Tallapoosa, and some of Russell County.
Yes, sir.
Have that area over there. His daddy was is Charles Whatley, who was a House member for a long time, and Senator Whatley is running for his 3rd term in the state Senate. He came first in 2010. He's on the Senate Education, Finance, Taxation Committee and the chairman of the Senate Agriculture Committee. And we thank you viewers for watching Alabama Politics. Hope you tune again next week. Again, we thank Senator Whatley. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, buddy.